Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/E-MasterCast. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. All right, enjoy the show. Welcome everyone again to E-MasterCast, Chicago's one and only podcast for that showcases our community's top, brightest, best business owners and entrepreneurs. So today we're not at our normal venue, B-Speak Studios. Today we're in the headquarters of MindBodyDisc and here with Tim Steward. So Tim, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and why you do it. Cool.
I've never had it called the headquarters before. Cool. I'm Tim Steward. I run a disc golf blog called MindBodyDisc.com. It goes along with the social media presence, and just kind of talk about disc golf and write and spend time online and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. Why do you do it?
It started a few years ago, and I really wanted to do something as a creative outlet. Something I enjoy writing. I enjoy photography. It actually started as an Instagram page, taking pictures, and then my camera got progressively better, and then I started writing articles to go along with it, and then surprisingly to me, people started actually reading the articles and liking them, and it's kind of taken off from there. And we're like 2.5 years later, and got quite a few people that go to the blog and quite a few people that follow on social, and it's kind of become this thing that it's become its own deal, Not what I thought in the beginning. It's just kind of taken a life of its own.
So for me, I love disc golf. So you're a major influencer, but for the people out there who don't know anything about disc golf, tell us a little bit about your numbers. And you say quite a few, but to me, it's more than quite a few. So email subscribers or visitors or.
Yeah, I have to be careful because whenever you look at blog numbers or social numbers, you got to be careful who you compare yourself to, because there's some gigantic numbers out there. But for the disc golf world, I'm pretty happy with what we've achieved. The blog has about 20,000 unique visitors a month. Instagram's the biggest social following. I think I'm at like 7,300 followers right now. Couple thousand on Facebook, couple thousand on Twitter. But the thing that I'm really most proud of is, I think there's a miscommunication out there that it's the number of followers or the number of subscribers that you have. And for me, what's been really cool is the engagement. So for me, my newsletter has about a 35% open rate.
Wow. And
about a 25% click-through rate.
Yeah.
So for me, it's, lots of people can get lots of numbers and subscribers, but if nobody opens your newsletter, if nobody actually comments on your Instagram feed, if nobody, likes your pictures, that's really what tells me what's going on out there. So I'm really, really thrilled at the engagement that we get on the different channels that we're at.
Awesome. So, how does disc golf relate to business for you? Because this is a show for entrepreneurs, so I want to bridge the gap. You've been to one of our masterminds in the city and enjoyed it. I know you got some good feedback. So how does disc golf and business and entrepreneurship connect for you?
That's a great question. It's something I write a lot about. Disc golf, and I think you could probably do this with a lot of different sports. You could do this if your thing is tennis, or if your thing is regular golf, or if you're whatever your thing is. I think sports in general are a microcosm of life and business as a whole. So there's core principles in disc golf: patience, practice, consistency. Really knowing what you want, starting off with a goal. Having that goal in mind when you develop your plan of action to work towards that goal.
Right.
All those things cross over, and those are skills that if you sharpen them in one arena, they transfer directly to another one. So, the habits that I built in disc golf of getting up early to practice and knowing what I want, that I really want a particular result, and then really going after that result. When I decided I wanted to do a blog, I applied those same behaviors and those same habits. Getting up early, doing things outside of my normal work hours, being consistent, doing things on a day-to-day basis, not just kind of doing short bursts and then quitting. Really understanding where my strengths are and working within those strengths. That's a big one lately. I've written a lot of articles about is, I think people too often, there's too many articles out there where they say, oh, well, you got to find your weaknesses and work on your weaknesses and work on your weaknesses. And to me, you can spend a lot of time kind of working on your weaknesses, and you go from bad to mediocre, and it takes a ton of effort. when really you could be spending time on your strengths and saying, I want to go from good to outstanding, and it doesn't take near as much effort. So just like on the disc golf course, where I know there's certain things that I'm good at, so I practice those to become even better, and that really helps out and balances out all the areas that I'm not very good in. And the stuff that you're not good in, you find another way to handle that. In entrepreneurship, you find somebody else to do those things.
Yeah.
You outsource that, or you get a virtual assistant, or you have somebody else do that instead of spending all of your time on the things that you're bad at.
Yeah.
You spend the time in your strengths, and you really focus on those. I think those are a couple of lessons that they really translate directly. But there's a lot of things. We can talk about that all day.
Yeah. So that being said, you're talking about lessons. Who influenced you at an early age to get into entrepreneurship or to get into disc golf? Like, who are your mentors?
Disc golf, it was weird. Disc golf is something that I really found on my own.
Okay.
So it wasn't something where I said, oh, I saw, the Tiger Woods of disc golf out there and I wanted to go be like that person. It was a chance for me, I meditate pretty regularly, and it was a chance for me to be outside in the woods or out in a park, out amongst nature and really enjoy. And I know that's something that you and I have in common,
right? Yeah.
That we like that time outside. So that part of it was pretty natural. It was just something I found that I really, really loved. As far as starting something online, I have a great job, outside of this particular gig, and I do like it. But I work for a very successful family who owns the business that I work for, and I would say that watching them and the freedom that they have, I didn't get an MBA. But I feel like I have an MBA from working side by side by the folks who built the business that I work at.
Nice.
We're extraordinarily well recognized. It's a huge business. We've got 1,300 employees. And I've been able to watch the family build that business and what they do. And the lessons that I've learned there, I've really tried to apply to my own life and to my own ventures. And it's been really kind of neat. And I think sometimes people are too anxious to get out of their primary job to go do their own thing, instead of taking the time to learn the lessons that they can at that primary job and then making a good transition from that to their own deal.
Right.
And that's something I've really tried to be patient with and really be aware of is to learn what I can and to enjoy it while I can. I think a lot of people too, they're like, oh, I hate this, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. Find the things you like.
Yeah.
Take what you can out of that, and then learn to parlay that into something better.
I agree. So I'm pretty sure there's a person at home watching this right now or listening to it on the podcast that it's kind of your same situation. They have a job that they love, but they also have a passion that they love as well, and they want to start doing something with that passion on the side. So
sure.
Since you've done it and since you've built MindBodyDisc up like it is, how would you advise that person to build that company on the side?
It's funny that you asked me that, because it's interesting because of the following that I've developed. I now have other folks who are calling me saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Hey, I'm thinking about starting. And I just had about an hour-long call with a guy out in California who's looking at starting something.
Wow.
And he was asking the same questions. And as I thought about what to talk to him about, the thing that I kept coming back to is you have to know your why. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. And it has to be a reason that's meaningful to you and is going to drive you through those late nights and help you get up in those early mornings and help you be consistent over time. I think too many people are like, well, I think it'd be cool to be an entrepreneur, so I just want to be an entrepreneur, and that's, so then they just go about, without a whole lot of direction, and they find themselves doing something that they don't like or they don't enjoy, or, in those dark hours of the morning, they're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I think that if you have a strong why and you can ground yourself in that and it's true to yourself, that why carries you through everything. That why carries you through all the hardship, all the problem. When your family or your friends ask you what the heck you're doing, why are you spending so much time doing this thing that they don't understand? You have a reason that you can fall back on, and when you don't have that reason, it's tough, man, I'll tell you, because I've tried some other things and I didn't have that why. And anybody who follows blogs or online, marketing of any type, you see them come and they make this huge splash, and 3 months later they're gone. And I guarantee you that almost all of those people didn't know what their why was or didn't have one that was really meaningful to them. Yeah. So they were going at it from the wrong perspective. The old saying, do what you love and the money will follow. I think that's kind of another way of saying the same thing. You got to be grounded in your why, for sure.
Gotcha.
So that's the biggest thing for me.
Nice. Yeah. I definitely agree. So do you have kids?
I do not.
No. Okay. I know that. But anyway. All right, so but you do have nieces, right?
I do. I
Yeah.
have two awesome nieces.
So as far as entrepreneurship goes, how would you advise your nieces to, if they wanted to start something like you have, if they wanted to start their own following and build something, build a community the way that you have, how would you advise them?
Well, it's really interesting because they have a great role model in my brother. My brother is a very successful entrepreneur. He owns his own company, he has for a long time. Is very successful. They have a lot of really nice things in life because of that. But on the flip side, they don't see him, very often. They see him on the weekends, but he's up and out of the house before they're up for school, and he's back home after they're in bed. So, the trade-off that he's made and that his family has willingly made and knowingly made, it's not just he's doing this on his own. It's truly a family effort. His wife, my sister-in-law, is amazing, but they know that this is, if they want a certain lifestyle and they want to be able to do things on their terms, that they know this is the price right now. So they have that great example, and I think the biggest thing is, and I talk a lot about this on my blog and I write a lot about it on social media. The winners in life are the people who are comfortable doing the things that the losers are uncomfortable doing. So in my mind, the people that are out there winning, like my brother, like the people that own the business that I'm with, they're working on their deal, on their thing, when everybody else is at home catching up on Game of Thrones. So if you find yourself going to the movies every other day, or sitting down and watching an hour or 2 or 3 hours of TV a day, and then also at the same time going, I don't have time to work on my business, I think maybe the why isn't there, or maybe the priorities aren't there. But I think that's something that my nieces really see, is that there's too many people out there right now talking about the hacks for this or the hacks for that, or what's the shortcut here, or 3 easy steps to this or that. And really, life hasn't changed a whole lot over time. It takes hard work, man.
It takes a lot of hard work.
That's the deal, and I think that's the thing that, especially kids today, they really need to see that. There's too much shortcuts to everything. I think they need to see that you got to put in the work. Too many people compare their beginning to somebody else's end, and they assume that so-and-so who's this big success just woke up yesterday and decided to be that big success. They don't see the 20 years of hard work that went into that. So I think that's something that, as far as the kids go, I think that there's fewer and fewer examples out there of people to see who are really just killing it, just trying to just work as hard as they can. And that to me is the biggest lesson that you can teach the kids, for sure, is just the value of hard work. It's something my grandparents taught me. It's something a lot of us who are a little older, that's what our parents or grandparents taught us. But I think a lot of the kids today don't get that lesson very many places.
That's true. Yeah, I heard the saying that an overnight success takes about 5 years.
For sure, at least. Yeah.
Okay. So that being said, how do you approach failure in life and in business? And in disc golf.
It's interesting to say that. I've done a lot of thinking about that. I think first of all, I think there's too many people out there going, oh, failure's great, failure's awesome. Look, I want to win, man. I don't know about you. I'd rather not fail, to be honest with you. So I think there's too many people out there that are doing things, and then when the time comes where there's a critical moment where you could fail or you could succeed, I think that this message that failure's great sometimes pushes people to just too easily give up. So while you can't have a problem with failure, you have to know it's going to happen, and you have to deal with it in an appropriate way. I think the first thing is, I think there's too many people out there saying, oh, just fail forward and fail quick and fail fast, and you hear all these things, and I'm like, well, how about win fast? How about succeed? How about try everything? How about exhaust all of your opportunities? When you think about, one of my favorite books is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. I think sometimes that failure is really just the resistance that he talks about in that book. So you have to push past that resistance. And then if you push past and you've truly done everything that you can and things don't work out, then you have to take those lessons. And it's not, I hate the word failure, it just, things didn't work out the way you planned. And you have to move forward, and you have to pivot and adjust and all these other buzzwords that you hear out there. But, it's so important to try everything you can first. And then if you fail, it happens. It's going to happen. There is no great success without failure. There's no great person in the world who got there without failure in their past. Not a single one. So it's something we all share in common. Something that's sometimes what's required to teach us the lessons we need to move forward. But I think, like I said, I think sometimes people are too willing to fail these days. So you can't be afraid of it. You can't be, you can't try and quit just because you failed once. But by the same token, you got to push sometimes and make sure you don't fail.
You do, and that's the value of like a mentor or some kind of mastermind or accountability partner, because then you can bounce ideas off them, and you can ask them if because it's easy to give up if it's just you in your head. But if you have a person that you can run an idea by and say, I failed here, do you think I should let this go? Then,
For sure.
It's a lot easier to stick with it that way.
For sure. Yeah, it's funny. I follow, I don't know if your audience probably does, but I follow Gary Vaynerchuk online, and I watch a lot of his videos.
Yeah.
And one of the ones that sticks with me is recently he put one out where he was talking with a kid who he had invested $150,000. And the kid was like, well, the company's not going to make it, but I learned a lot of valuable lessons. And Gary looks at him and goes, you lost $150,000 of my money is what you did. He's like, I don't want to hear about your lessons. He's like, this is business, man. We got to make money.
Right,
so,
right.
I think that kind of shows an example of what I was talking about, which is okay, great, you learned your lessons, but did you really try and win, or did you just use up somebody's $150,000? So I think that's a great example of the direction I think we need to go.
Yeah, nice. I like that. A lot of people love Gary Vee. I don't know how I feel about it yet, but I definitely appreciate his message. For sure. The message of hustle and just getting on it every day.
Absolutely.
It's hard to do. It's hard to keep the energy up, but you kind of have to.
For sure.
And once you find your purpose, it's a lot easier to do it your why. Like you said. Okay.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're going to switch over to the lightning round now.
Okay.
We might take a little break. I think I'm going to add some of these books and sit on them so I can look you in the eye instead of looking up and hurt my neck. Okay. All right. So the lightning round.
Okay.
It is short questions I have right here.
Okay.
You can answer them as long or as short as you want to, but just little brief questions just to find out more about you and about who you are.
Sure.
Okay. So easy question, right? Favorite book?
So I've got to give you two answers to that.
Okay.
Because
I
I read a lot of fiction and I read a lot of nonfiction. So I think it's important. I think today people get too bogged down into reading all nonfiction, and you got to be creative to be an entrepreneur. You got to be creative in business, and I think reading fiction, it really goes towards that. So my favorite author is Neil Gaiman. That's every book in the corner here.
Nice. Okay.
And my favorite book is a book called American Gods. I was actually listening to the audio version before you came over today.
Yeah.
It's probably the third or fourth time I read it. They're making it into a TV series on Stars soon.
Wow.
But that's definitely my favorite book by far.
Okay. What do you get from it? Or
it's an interesting. It's without getting too involved in the story. It's an interesting look at what the people in this country value and worship as their own gods. So in the book, the quote-unquote American gods are things like the internet and commerce and progress. And it kind of talks a lot about how a lot of people's energy are given towards those things instead of maybe the more traditional gods or values that maybe they did in the past. And it's the war between those two groups and those two kind of belief systems. So it's a pretty cool book.
Gotcha.
So I've read it a few times, and that's definitely my favorite fiction book.
I might check it out. I got a long ride coming up, so maybe
There
I'll
you
pick
go.
that up.
For sure.
Second book.
For nonfiction, I think whenever you hear people ask this question, they go to whatever they're reading most recently. And for me, I want to go back to what I've read the most. And the book that I've read the most is a book by Mandino called The Greatest Salesman in the World.
Okay.
It's a little tiny book. It's sitting right behind you there. It's the red one up on top, a little bit to your right there.
Yeah.
And or maybe it's the white one right underneath. Right underneath that one.
Close enough, yeah.
Yep, that's it right there.
Okay.
So, Mandino, man, he's written a ton of really good books. He's got a great backstory as an author. I ended up penniless, literally penniless in the gutter, wanting to commit suicide, and decided that he was going to pursue his dream of being a writer. And this book has been, it's one of the best-selling books of all time. And it's still on the bookshelves today, even though it was written back in the early 1900s. And if you're in sales at all, you can't go wrong with this book right here. You surely can't. And it's not one of the ones that you hear recommended a lot.
Yeah.
But I would definitely recommend this book to anybody.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Next question. So there's a concept of Pareto's principle. You know, the 80-20 rule.
For sure.
20% of the actions you take equate to 80% of the results you get. So what's the 20% in your business, MindBodyDisc, and what's the 20% in disc golf? What's that good to you?
Disc golf, approach shots. You know, a lot of people talk, because disc golf and regular golf, for those of you who don't play disc golf, are pretty similar, and you hear a lot of people talk about putting. To me, if the disc is close to the basket and I don't have to putt, that makes all the difference in the world. So, so for me, it's not the drive, it's not the big fancy drive, it's not the putts, it's that shot in between. It's how close can you get to your goal before you actually have to make that final push home. So another good parallel to entrepreneurship. In entrepreneurship, create good content. To me, that's something that I think a lot of people miss out on. They get, like, if they have an online presence, they read all of this stuff, you know, headlines, and your posts can only be 500 words or less, and your videos have to be 2 minutes, and all these rules and stuff. And in the end, you know, there's bad 6-second Vine videos out there, and there's fantastic 2-hour videos out there. And that's another thing that I learned from Gary Vee when he was talking about content is it doesn't matter how long it is, it doesn't matter how you organize it, all these rules don't matter. What matters is create good content that provides value to other people, and everything else takes care of itself. Don't get bogged down in the details, just create great content that really helps people.
Gotcha. Okay, very good advice. If next question. If you could have any superpower or X-Men ability, what would you choose?
Oh, that's a great question. And my favorite superheroes are the ones that don't have any superpowers, like Batman and whatnot. So, you know, I've always thought about this. I would want the power to know anything that I wanted to know. So if I decided I wanted to know a certain fact or a certain how to do something or a certain process or anything like that, I would just know that. So for me, the knowledge is power type thing. It sounds kind of corny, but I really could care less about flying or climbing on walls or having webs shoot out of my wrist or anything like that. I would want to be able to know. I would want to be able to know what people are thinking. I think that would provide, and then I'd just probably go play poker all the time. I know what everybody had.
Okay, so you'll use it for evil. Okay, I got you.
Well, you know, it depends on your definition of evil.
Okay, so is there a quote that has been a mantra for your life or something that always comes back up?
Man, I like a lot of quotes.
One or two or three, doesn't matter.
It's hard to single out on just a couple. Probably should have thought about this one before you came over. You know, I think the one that I said a minute ago, because that's not my quote. I think the winners in life are the ones that are comfortable doing the things the losers are uncomfortable doing. I think that, you know, that pretty much sums up a lot of the other quotes that I could give you. Is just do the. Somebody asked me on my Facebook the other day. They said, and I just posted that quote, and they said, "Yeah, but why is it that the things that are important are always the hard things?" And I said, "Man, that's a great question." You know, but that seems to be the case. Is that the things that are worthwhile in life, those are the ones that are hard to do. So, gotta do the hard things.
Gotta do the hard things. Okay, so what did you want to be as a kid when you grew up?
Rich. That was my standard answer when my parents asked me, like, "Yeah, but how do you want to get there?" I'm like, "I don't know." So I'm still working on that one. But I think my definition of rich has changed over the years from money to other stuff. But no, actually, I wanted to be an artist, to be honest with you. I took lots of art classes. I didn't know what kind of artist. It's one of the reasons I started the blog and the Instagram was to get back to doing something creative. So I really wanted to be an artist. That explains the photos then. Yeah, your photos are really good. I don't know if you guys. You guys should check them out on Instagram also. MindBodyDisc. Yep. Everything's at MindBodyDisc. So it wasn't taken by anyone. So that's where I'm at everywhere.
Awesome. Yeah. Beautiful images. Next question. You already gave me advice for entrepreneur your kids. Next to last one then. Do you consider yourself an introvert or extrovert?
I'm a huge introvert, which is weird because my primary job is sales, and I manage a team of about 43 other salespeople. And you would normally think that the successful salespeople in the world are always the outgoing ones. And when I'm with a customer, I can be, but for the most part, you can find me most of the time right in this room reading a book by myself. So I spend a ton of time by myself. I'm definitely introverted.
Got you. Okay. All right. So thank you for being on the show. Last question I have for you is, if first of all, how can people find you? And second of all, being that this is a mastermind, we want to help each other. So how can people find you and how can we help you?
You know what? If you want to go to the blog at MindBodyDisc.com or any of the associated social, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. Love to see the comments in there. If anybody sees anything that you like, that you'd like to see more of, things that you've seen that you think could be better. I love feedback, so I really try and get as much feedback as I can. I'm not the type of person to say, well, thanks for the feedback, but here's why your feedback's wrong.
Right,
which
yeah.
I'm not. Some people out there kind of do that, but that would be great. But for me, if the biggest help is if I know that anybody out there goes out and maybe goes out tomorrow and maybe they were too focused on how many words are in their next article or how long their next video is, and they focus on making great content, and that great content impacts somebody else's life and makes it better, and that's all the help I need.
Awesome. Thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.